Hey everyone, and welcome to Comedians on Technology, People, and Drugs. I'm your host, Sam Joseph, and today we're very lucky to have comedian Dillon Harris on the podcast. Hey Dillon, it's really great to have you with us. Thanks so much for sharing your time.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure. Very excited and maybe a little nervous.
Well, I'm sure we'll overcome it. But that's good. As I say, nervousness, excitedness. That I think as comics, we have to, was it? We have to strap that nervousness onto us. No, that came out wrong. We're supposed to grab that nervous or somehow use it or weaponize it. Anyway, you're a very
No, 100%. Yeah. I've kind of learned recently to embrace the nervousness just because it means that you care.
right.
Whereas if you try to hide the nervousness, then it ends up coming out worse or just more obvious or something. Whereas if you just own it, then like it's all good. It flows.
I think you're right. Or at least I keep telling myself there's something. Well, I think I don't yet have it or understand it. Maybe it's
Mm,
something I just want to believe that there's something about when you're doing comedy that it's about owning exactly what's happening. So if you
yeah.
are feeling nervous, I mean, then in some ways, one way to diffuse that is to say, "Hey guys, I'm really nervous," or
Yeah.
which is like, I mean, I think we've all seen stand-ups doing comedy and they are visibly nervous, and that
Mm,
makes you nervous as an audience.
yes. Oh
Um,
God, yeah. It's uncomfortable.
and right, and so there's an extent to which, as the performer, you don't want to draw attention to that, but then again, it's I feel like there's this mystical realm that one can step into, a bit like sort of enlightenment or something, where
Mm.
if you can totally own that moment, then nothing can go wrong. At least that's my
Yeah,
theory.
if you're just really present and sincere about like where you're at, because the audience are like they're smart and they give themselves credit for it. So like they know these things. So the moment you address it, even if it's not like that funny, just the fact that you address it like relieves them because like, oh, he knows. And then
Right,
yeah,
right.
100%.
Yeah, yes. There's something about in so many other situations when you're in a group, whether it's like a work group or the often people will not mention the elephant in the room, so to speak,
Hmm.
and it's sort of everybody's being very cautiously not mentioning the thing, or it's not politic or not polite to mention the thing, and
Yeah.
and that's sort of I think the special circumstance in a comedy club, but also in some families, but and
Yes.
even and I meet some people who are and actually sometimes the people at work or what have you, who have
Mm.
a sort of knack of saying like the opposite thing to what's happening or skewering what is happening, and there's something about that that's naturally funny. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. It's interesting. But yeah, we're already getting right into it.
I mean, again, already saying before, you've been the most prepared guest. It is like just started at 100 miles an hour. I haven't been able to say, my usual intro, which is that you're a very funny person, Dylan, and
Thank you very much.
of course, the question that's burning in all of our listeners' minds is, what is your comedy origin story? And I will pause quickly to think of a different superhero and how they got their powers. Were you trained in the comedy dojos of the Far East, like over many years, and then finally released with your hood and bow and arrow to shoot comedy bolts into people's hearts?
Well, as you can tell from the accent, I am from Ireland. So
Are
you,
you right?
yes, take note, please. Yes, I see you're taking note there. I
Taking
appreciate
note.
that.
Yeah, right. From Ireland. Okay, go on. Do tell.
Yeah.
How does that
So
work?
you would be hard pressed to find the dojo for miles.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah. So not quite a dojo, more of a pub, which is the case for many comedians, and
Right. Yes.
especially ones from Ireland. They're probably going to be doing comedy in a pub.
Indeed so.
Um, but yeah, my story is I would like to imagine it's kind of unique. I started off, I still am an actor, but I was doing a drama and theater degree. That's what I studied in
Okay. Right. At university.
university.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for 4 years. And in my fourth year,
Mm.
there's all these creative people that are doing all these various different things, just trying to get their names out there. This
Mm.
buddy of mine was doing a YouTube series where every week he would try out something new with a guest.
Oh wow.
So
Okay.
like, yeah, one week he went to like a slam poetry thing, he went to a rap battle. Every time this is with a
Wow.
guest. And yeah, I happened to be his guest when he went to an open mic comedy gig.
Ah.
Um yeah, crazy. I loved stand up prior to this evening. Like I'd gone to random shows around like Cork City, where I went to
Oh
university,
yeah.
and had seen like Jimmy Carr live, Ricky Gervais, and a couple of other like big
Hmm.
British and Irish comedians. I've always been a big fan of stand-up comedy. Absolutely never saw myself doing it because I was an actor, so I
Okay.
never saw myself going up on stage as
Mm.
myself.
Mm.
And yeah, did that gig. This was in January 2020.
Hmm.
Yeah, you know where this is going.
Yes, yes.
Gosh, this with the comedy bug, as they would say.
Mm.
And yeah, just started writing material from there. I literally only did, I think it was four. I can't remember the
Uh,
exact number. It was 3 or 4 gigs.
yes.
And as you know, it became illegal to do stand up comedy for
Right. Yeah. Well.
a year and a half. Yeah. So my timing was absolutely impeccable.
Mhm. Well, it's essential to comedy, I hear.
Yeah, yeah. It actually ended up being a pretty valuable time for me, though, the
Oh, really?
lockdown, because I kind of gave myself that period to be like, oh, what do I actually want to do? And I kept
Mm.
writing jokes and like comedy sketches and stuff like that. I filmed a bunch of sketches. I mean, I literally filmed tons of sketches during the lockdown period, and
Yes.
definitely came out of it being like, I want to pursue comedy.
Right.
Yeah, properly, and yeah, moved here to London in August of 2021 and had been pursuing it ever since then.
Yeah.
Yes,
Wonderful. Wonderful.
there
Really
you go.
interesting.
That's my entire life story.
Well, and I'm kind of I'm
No details left out.
well, I mean, you say that. I'm really interested in the drama and theatre degree,
Mm,
that and how you chose to do that. I mean, I said partly
yes.
because I mean I got into amateur dramatics in university while doing like technical degrees, but
Hmm.
I became quite obsessed with acting and directing and those sorts of things for a
Yeah.
couple of years before discovering stand up and improv. But yeah, what was
Hmm.
the were you the funny person in school? Were you like you loved drama and theatre as a young person, and that it was it a natural choice to go and do that at university?
Natural choice. I mean, it certainly wasn't a thing where I told my parents I was going to do it and they were thrilled and it was we
No.
were off to the races. There was
No.
certainly a period of unease, but no,
Mm.
they're totally down for it now and very supportive. But yeah,
Great.
you know, it's a risky, crazy thing to be jumping into.
Right.
But yeah, no, I was like, I literally had been doing, I did stage school, you know, like musicals and pantos and stuff like that
Mm,
for
mm.
as long as I was like able to talk, kind of.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, and then from there progressed into like doing youth theater where I did more like straight just like dialogue plays,
Hmm. Hmm.
and yeah, then I kind of kept doing that up until my teens. Did the drama and theater degree. I ran a theater company for close to 5 years with a buddy of
Mm.
mine in Cork City, and we did shows
Mm.
in like
Wonderful.
Dublin and Galway and stuff like
Wow.
that. So yeah, yeah, did all that prior to ever dreaming of doing stand up.
Right.
Yeah, the stand up thing was the last creative thing that I got into, but is currently my favorite creative
Yes.
thing that I do, and very fulfilling and challenging in a whole new way, a very different
Absolutely.
way. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
and having great fun with it.
It's wonderful. And this, the kind of, I mean, I think I did, bits of acting in school. I never went to like the stuff outside. I mean, I think my kids, like my eldest, what one half term we took him to like a week long theatre club, but
Mm.
subsequently, sports activities completely overtook that. I just wondered if your family has any kind of showbiz background at all. I mean, presumably it was your parents who like found these clubs and took you to them, and but that was it was just sort of a coincidence that they happened to be on, and you happened to say, "Oh, I love that. I want to keep going back."
My mom is an incredible singer. She,
Oh, really? Yeah.
yeah, she sings for church every Sunday. Very religious lady, but
Mm,
genuinely a fantastic singer.
mm,
Like I'm not just saying that she's my mom. I think she could have had an incredible career as a musician had she not chose to stay in Kerry and raise kids.
right, right.
You know? So yeah, definitely kind of was aware of creativity, had creativity around the house because of
Mm,
her. The usual thing as a kid, like you know, you're into drawing and
mm,
painting
mm.
and stuff like that, and she was always supportive. But then she put me into stage school. I'm actually only remembering this as you're asking me. She put
Sure,
me
sure.
into stage school super young. I think I was only 5 or 6 because I was super shy in
Ah,
in
okay.
school. So she put me in there to with the hope of it giving me more confidence, which
Sure.
definitely works. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, a wise woman.
Well, very, very much so.
Mm.
A gift to the world. And then so
Jeez, thank you very much.
if we look at um the first time that you did stand up, and it sort of it sounds like you'd always liked stand up. You hadn't really considered it as an option, and then almost just through a sort of, fortuitous sequence of events, you just so you were on this sort of YouTube series, and
Yeah,
was that as was the idea was on this that the guest and the host together would both do some new activity. Is
something
that
we
right?
yeah something him and his guests had never done before. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yes, and I
Uh,
remember seeing the episode and thinking it was great, and I'm sure if I watched it now, I would think it's terrible.
oh, well,
But it's a
it's
natural course of doing it longer and improving and everything else. I do remember getting really good advice in my first gig though,
oh
because
yeah,
I come from an acting background. I had done tons of plays prior to doing stand up,
right,
so my set
right,
was super rehearsed.
okay.
It was word perfect, but I wasn't very present because
Mm,
you don't have that demand with the play. You put
sure.
there's a fourth wall over the you and the
Mm,
audience,
mm.
and yeah, I remember him saying that is like kind of be with the audience a bit more. But then he said, talk about things that are funny in your gut,
Ah,
which was so simple but really good advice. Just
yes.
something that makes you chuckle,
Mm,
which I know sounds like obvious, but it is that thing when you start off is you're kind of writing a little safe because you want it to be something you hope the whole room could like. But actually, if
yes.
you're writing something that you find inherently funny, the audience will feed off that. Hopefully, that obviously doesn't
Yes.
always
Yes.
happen, but yeah, you're definitely on a clearer track, a better trajectory if you're writing something that you find hilarious.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I tend to agree, and I think that
yeah,
I mean that maybe is that modern stand up is that what we're after is that kind of real truth, and I think we're one is aware of kind of you can try and construct something that will be funny but is not
mm,
really that much to do with you, and
yeah,
your effort is going into I just must find something that will make everybody laugh rather than it being true to you. And
mm,
I guess like perhaps therein lies the difference between the artist and the entertainer, in that the entertainer's priority must be that the maximum number of people in the room are laughing,
yeah,
and the artist is, I must be maximally truthful. It must be, but why make these? But it does sound like fantastic advice. But I'm
it's
particularly,
great.
yeah, I'm interested in the first gig there. You had this
Mm,
circumstance. I mean, people's first gigs are often, fraught with, there's something special. You had the circumstance that took you to it.
mm.
You'd obviously been performing on the stage, so maybe like it didn't seem like such a big deal. Like for some people, doing stand up is like is the thing. It seems like an impossible dream that they could never do, or an impossible nightmare. But for you at the time, it was like, oh yeah, oh, here's another art form. I'll just give it a go. Was probably where you were at the time. Is that right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like I said, I only did three or four in Ireland before lockdown happened and then
Yeah.
didn't do it again until I moved here in 2021. And I definitely did not find any sort of like real nervousness in those first few gigs in Ireland. It was only in doing it in London later on, like when I was like maybe like 20 or 30 gigs in, when I was
Oh,
really
really?
kind of getting into a place of, oh, I want to have a tight five and I want to have a set that is a solid A1 joke from start to finish.
Hmm.
When you start getting into the practicalities of it all, that's when I started getting more nervous. But definitely not
Okay.
at the beginning. I was just like enjoying the journey of it. And because I had done so many, plays where I don't need the audience laughing every 10 seconds to receive self-worth. I
Sure.
didn't feel that nervousness when I was going up there and, not murdering
Yeah. Yeah. No.
at
Well,
the beginning. Whereas now I demand laughter every 1.5 seconds. And if I don't, I'll cry for a week.
it's I certainly I can relate very strongly to that. I mean, I'm in this. I want that. I love the laughs. I want the audience to be in near hysterics and almost unable to breathe throughout. I mean, I don't want anyone to die, obviously, but that's what I want. And at the
Yeah.
same time, I feel like, again, another parallel with the whole Enlightenment and Buddhist, thing is that in some ways you get the most laughs once you finally stop caring about whether you are getting the laughs. But
I
it's
know,
a bit of
I
a
know. It's like I went the other
conundrum.
way.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't care at the beginning, and I cared now.
Yes, it's funny, isn't it? It's a funny old thing, and yeah, well, that's so interesting to hear. And then
Hmm.
I guess I guess the one final question on this topic would be, can you identify what it was about stand up that was that there was a thing that then pulled you, because you've been doing lots of other kind of performing things, you'd put a lot of time into your the theatre company, the different shows, and but somehow there was something about stand up that made you say, I want to make this the main focus of my time. And is it clear what that is? Maybe you still don't know.
Maybe I still don't know. Yeah, I'm definitely still interested in doing plays. I'm working on a play currently, and
Mm,
I'm
mm,
still interested in acting. Uh, Stand-up is just a different challenge. It's the newest thing that I've done, so it's still like that thing I'm trying to figure out, and I'm so curious about.
mm,
And I guess the biggest thing starting off that I found so freeing was, as I said, I'd only ever acted and been on stage as a character.
mm.
There was like, oh wow, it was like interesting to me to realize I could actually be enjoyable to an audience as myself.
Ah.
I'm sure many actors have that issue and never come out of that issue because they remain just actors. They
Mm.
don't think they're interesting enough, you know.
Mm.
And I
Mm.
certainly didn't feel that way having my first ever gig in 2020 when I was 22 years old.
Mm.
I certainly did not previously think I was interesting as myself. So yeah, that was like a
Right. And yeah,
yeah, quite a nice self actualization to realize that.
yeah, brilliant. And I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
yeah, no, that's a great answer. And I think many people will relate to that, and I relate to that strongly myself. Yeah.
yeah. Because you acted before you ever did stand up.
Oh yes,
Yeah, you
yes,
did plays and stuff like that.
yes, yes, yes.
Fascinating. You don't do any acting anymore?
Uh, Not apart from that one, comedy sketch thing that we
Oh
did
yes,
recently,
yeah, that was great. Yeah,
Lord of the Rings, which was
mm-hmm.
fun.
Very fun.
Although, thanks. Doing that highlighted to me again my preference for stand up, in that doing that we had to do, like 12, 15 takes of the
Yeah.
same thing over again.
Mm.
And, it took like 3 or 4 hours of the evening. And, actually I'm very, very, very pleased with the result. But yeah, it's kind of like there's a lot of work going in, um, compared to, going in, like, as we both know, going and doing a stand-up set for 5, 10, 20 minutes. And, you are the director, you are the actors, you can play all the characters. There's kind of an immediacy to,
Yes.
you have complete creative control. There's one
Totally.
take,
Mm-hmm.
and it's done, and you have immediate feedback from the audience about how it went. And so
Yes.
it's difficult to top that, I think, at least for me at the moment. Maybe maybe we'll both discover other things. I'm starting to really
Mm.
enjoy podcasting as another activity.
Nice. Yeah.
Although, yeah, I mean, I want to, as Ollie was saying last week, I want to have my cake and eat it. I want to have my podcasts and my comedy. Um,
There you go.
yeah, yeah. But so, and then, yeah, you talked about the nerves
Mm.
coming in later, but you've sort of you've stuck at it. Yeah, it's, I mean, I'm tempted to slide into our next question, which is about how technology is affecting your life and your comedy. And of course, as I often say, technology can be, as simple as a mnemonic technique that you use to remember things, or it could be the latest AI model. Any technique or tool I would class as technology. And so there's an open forum for you to tell us about how you use those things to for life, love, and happiness.
Life, love, and happiness. Well, porn, which gives me all three of those things.
Yeah, you go. Okay,
No, no,
we
I'm
can go.
kidding.
I'll make a note. We can come back to that. There's a lot I could say about porn,
We'll
but
come back to porn. It's too many jokes in there. Technology, like, how has it helped my comedy, or how has it been a disturbance to my comedy? What exactly is the question?
that's a great question.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, what I think there's a sense to which, one does stand up. It is
Mm,
largely technology free, in as
yeah.
much as you've had some ideas, work them out, perhaps just on pencil and paper, and
Mm.
then you go up and talk about them, and maybe you've got a microphone, and maybe you haven't. And but so there is these days an extraordinary array of different technology, such as, recording devices, video, audio.
Yes. Oh,
There's,
yeah. Okay, I get
computers and
you.
laptops to the Word documents, notes on your phone, AI models. Uh, there's all sorts of things, and I guess, but what we as we talk to the different comedians on the podcast, some of them
Mm.
are like, no, none of that. Others are, yeah, I'm using lapel mics. And I'm just really I'm really interested in people's comedy process, like how they're developing their material, how they're
Oh, I see.
analyzing their sets, all of these things, and to what extent, special techniques and tools are used in that. Yeah. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, absolutely. No, yeah, I get you now. I definitely rely heavily on technology to help me develop my craft. I use the notes tab in on my iPad, my phone,
Yep.
pretty much whenever I'm thinking of a joke or just trying to write a longer set maybe or something like that.
Mm,
I record every set I do, be it just audio or be it visual as well.
yeah.
I think people who don't record themselves are crazy because
Mm-hmm.
then you're just going off memory, and sometimes comedians can be incredibly pessimistic and they're thinking in
Yes.
their head that the gig went worse than it did, or oh, that joke didn't work. And I'm like, no, that joke was pretty funny, man. Did you
Yeah.
record your set? I'm like, no, I didn't. I'm like, well, you've done yourself no favors there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I guess I kind of take it for granted until you spelled it out there. Like, oh, I do rely pretty heavily on technology.
Mm,
I didn't know a world where you couldn't rely on technology to help
right.
you
Right.
develop your stand-up craft. Like, yeah, what were people doing in the 80s?
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
lots, and I just watched the Zen Diaries of Gary Shandling, which is a great
Yes, I'll check it
documentary,
out.
and
Hmm.
he's just got endless paper and pens, and just like,
That's
you know,
what it was, yeah. And there is something very cool and romantic to the Notebook. I can definitely see the appeal of that. There's a
mm,
comedian I love, Mark Normand, literally just walks around with like pages and pages of stuff
mm,
in the back of his pants.
mm,
There is something cool and romantic to the notes, but I just feel like it would mess with my head. I like having it in this nice little organized tab on my iPad where I can put in the categories, and I like keep track of newer jokes too. So I'll
oh
be
yeah,
like, oh, I've done this joke 3 times, and 2 times it
mm,
worked, and 1 time it
mm,
didn't. To decide whether or not it remains,
yeah, yeah.
basically. So all those things are super helpful to me. I just don't think I'd have that same organization if I was using a notebook. That's just it just works for me. I feel like stand up more than any other art form, the way that people develop it is utterly different. Like I know people
Yes,
who just speak into a voice recorder
yes.
to develop their jokes. Some people who literally just write on stage.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's different for everybody. Yeah,
Yes, yes, absolutely. Well, and it's different
yeah.
for everybody, and it's fascinating to hear how people
Super cool. Yeah,
do it differently. And so
totally.
you're saying like you record every set, and
Mm.
how are you at listening back or watching back to your sets?
I have never struggled with this. Well, unless it was a rough set, then I'm like, oh god. But then I actually usually find that it's not as bad as I thought it was, because
Yes.
yeah, we can be our own worst critics as as comedians. Yeah, I mean, I had done film and stuff like that before doing stand up, so
Mm,
I I any fears that I had of watching myself had washed away long before I started doing stand up. So that
right.
was definitely helpful. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you're more in the camp that, I mean, what we often have
I know
on the
you love
podcast.
watching yourself. Yeah.
I do. I mean, again, I like. I mean, it's a joke it's because I'm such a narcissist, but I think there's some subtle nuance there that there's, well, maybe who cares?
You're in love with
But
yourself.
well, see now, that's a great question. I don't have like a vision of myself as being the most amazing, beautiful, wonderful person in the universe in a kind of lovey sort of way.
I do.
Well,
I've always felt
most
that
other
way.
mortals do see me that way, but
I,
like,
I want to make it known on this podcast. This is where I shall confess my love to you.
Ollie was doing it like, I mean, it's I
Yes,
say
I'm
you,
sensing a trend.
after all, you're only human. But
The
I
skinny
think
white men that wear flannel are in love with you, Sam. Is that what you're going for?
maybe that's going to be my voice somehow.
There
They
you
keep
go.
telling me I'm going to discover it eventually.
Your followers, your cults. Apologies.
Oh.
Go on.
I mean, but I think like when I look at myself internally, I think
Hmm.
I'm not a person who's like some people, like a sort of a depressive, negative, pessimistic person who's just saying, "Oh, well, I'm awful at this, and I'm awful at this, and I'm awful at this," and I think
Hmm.
I like to think that I have a somewhat balanced view that I'm good at this, I'm good at this. This one, not so much. Like I'm,
Yeah.
it's not like I'm without criticism internally.
No.
Like,
Mm.
and it's almost more to do with I've got a fascination with my personality. It's not that I think my personality is perfect or who I am is perfect, but I'm
Yeah.
fascinated with what is this thing? And like so, particularly recently, I'm using AI tools to build software to build this system that automatically analyzes my sets for levels of laughter and applause and automatically captions them. And I'm pulling out different bits and putting them on
Oh
TikTok and
wow.
putting the ones that get the highest votes on TikTok onto Instagram. And as I
Mm.
watch those things back, I mean, separately from, for me, always after a gig, I will always watch it back because I'm just really interested to see how it went. And things that you say already is like, yeah,
Mm.
often your perception of where was good and bad might come across differently, and I think that it's a great leveler. It's really good to do. I think you're always learning from it. But now, as I
Really.
watch more of my older stuff back in this process of like chopping it up for social media,
Mm.
there's I'm just fascinated with, I don't know how I say some of the things that I say on the stage. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm kind of it's like this weird it's a bit like, let's say that you had a like probably soon Elon Musk is going to have a very very sophisticated robot for us that will be able to do the washing up and the laundry and like look up rock the baby and tell you jokes while it's doing so, and there'll be
Yes.
a kind of like there's a kind of like, how is that thing managing to do that? Do you know what I mean? Eventually it'll become boring and old and what have you, but
It'll just be the norm.
it'll
Yeah.
just be
Isn't
the
that
norm.
crazy to
Let
think
the
of?
fucking robot do it. It's and but
Yeah.
so like for some reason I'm still fascinated with that thing that is me,
Hmm.
and I think I'd like to think, much as I will joke about being a narcissist, that it's not about me being in love with myself. It's just me being fascinated with the thing that I am, and I've got this very strange, like I'm also fascinated in all the people come. Like I'm fascinated with you and with Ollie
Mm.
and with Anthony and everybody comes to the podcast. I think they're fascinating as much as I'm talking about
Yeah.
myself. I'm really interested in, but I don't have access to your internal world in the way
Hmm.
that I have access to my own internal world. That I don't know if
Of
that
course.
makes any sense, but
I I'd be very creeped out if you told me that you somehow did have access to my internal
internal world. But
worlds.
this is part of the thing. If you will, that's it. The advanced next level podcast where you put the electrodes on, and that was it.
Yeah.
We
I
get
think
to
I would be
there.
calling the police.
Well, you may not want to. You may have so much fun. But no,
That's true.
let's drag this away from me and back to you. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So you're um yeah you're watching yourself back. You're
Hmm.
trying to learn from it. You're it's helping you level. You've got your notes and your process and your categories on. I mean, there's a thing called Notion which has a bit of a sort of a database in it, and there's a sort of period where I've gone through a database of jokes and trying to order them, give them stars and what have you, and I seem to have the last 4 or 5 months it's clipboards and pieces of paper and so on. But so I'm
Sure.
interested in the are you like most comedians, like you have your phone with you all the time and thoughts occur to you and you write stuff down, but do you also like make time, say, okay, I'm going to do an hour's writing a day, or is it what other things do you have going on in your process that helps you develop material?
Yeah, I make time for it. Yeah, I try to write three new jokes a day. Now I know you do 10, which is I find very admirable and absolutely
Jokes is a
insane.
strong word, but yeah, but you'd find it less admirable if you could see something. But no, you're focusing on trying to get three sort of jokes out, and that's like, and yeah, each day. And how are you finding that?
Yeah, it's a super fun process. I only started kind of being strict with myself about it at the beginning of this year, and I definitely have found that I've gotten much more material out of it than I ever had at
Yeah,
when I was writing at a slower or just a little bit less routine
yeah,
rate
yeah,
prior to this year.
yeah,
Yeah, I've doubled the material that I had that I genuinely think is good. And obviously I've done a bunch of other material that didn't end up going anywhere, and that's fine too. It's
mm,
part of the process, and I find it quite fun and enjoyable. Like it's
yeah.
interesting how you write something, you think, oh, this is so interesting, this is going to kill. I'm going to surf the audience afterwards, and the most beautiful woman in the crowd is going to propose to me, and I'm going to get a Netflix special, all the things in
Yeah,
one evening, and you go
it's
up on
gonna
stage, and
happen.
they're like, is that a joke? That's the punchline, and you're like, shit, no. In my head, this is going to save everything.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
extraordinary. Yes.
But that's what's part of the fun of it all, that you really don't know until you get on stage and do it. That is part of what makes it so unique and interesting as an art form is that you don't know that you've actually gone in front of the audience and done it.
No,
You know what I mean?
absolutely. And there does seem to
Crazy.
be this process, doesn't there, of, and I think this having this routine and repeatedly writing jokes and repeatedly trying them out is,
Mm.
I think even, Jimmy Carr talks about, he writes 1,000 jokes to get one real cracker. And
Wow.
like that's, he's just constantly writing jokes, but then over the
Mm.
course of years, that I mean
Your hit rate gets better, surely. Yeah, you know
yeah.
your voice more clearly and stuff like that.
Yeah, yes, and I think, well, as Dan Morris was saying on the podcast, you also,
Mm.
when you're as popular as Jimmy Carr, you can, as he was saying, you go to the Harrow Arts Centre, and people pay to see you just talk through
Yes.
your latest 100, and as a new material,
Yeah.
you've got access to stage time in a way that is a dream for us. But
Of
yeah,
course.
it's that process of like just rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, and then this is the thing where I is it all about selecting those few gems and then polishing those and then trotting them out on order, or
Mm.
and as I go on about on this podcast about this strange dream that I have to be like Ross Noble or Rory Scovel and sort of
Yes.
be in this mode
Love
of
Roy Scovel.
constant creation but anyway but
Mm.
so is to sort of expand it beyond your comedy process, is technology affecting your life as well? I mean, I partly mention this because there's phones and there's social media and there's new AI tools which seem to be getting more and more powerful, and all these AI generators and so on. I mean, is I mean, technology has advanced considerably over the last 20 years. In the last 2 years, we've seen even
Mm.
more changes. Have you sensed that your life is changing as a result, or it's not so much?
Oh yeah, I've definitely made a. Yeah, we couldn't pretend social media hasn't changed the world in some way. Like it objectively has.
Mm,
And yeah, I've certainly noticed it, and have done things to try and get myself off it. I started a new rule again this year actually,
oh yeah.
where I won't go near my phone when I'm in my room, and that has made a really big difference.
Okay.
Just kind of making my room my sanctuary and not letting the rest of the world in has been a really helpful mental thing. Because yeah, for a while there, I was waking up and the first thing I was doing was going on WhatsApp or
Right.
Instagram, which is
Yes.
like crack Instagram, you
Yes.
know. So yeah, and it swallows you up whole. You compare yourself to other people and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's, it's affecting the world. Like they say, there's a loneliness epidemic, and um,
Yes.
this I'm not the first person to say this. I think that's highly
Mm.
caused by social media. This thing that was designed to bring us together is drifting us further apart. You know.
Yes. Well, I think I just on my, one of my 10 a day, which again, they're not really jokes, but I wrote like,
Mm.
why is social media so antisocial? And ironically, I don't
Yeah.
know that the people creating it were necessarily doing it out of the goodness of their own heart to promote sociality. I think they wanted to
No.
create companies that would make a lot of money and be very popular. But
Exactly.
it's fascinating that you mentioned about the no phone in the room, because I think famously, like Ariana Huffington of the Huffington Post,
Mm.
had a kind of
Of
a
the
very
Cleveland
successful
Show
person.
fame.
Sorry, say again.
Of the Cleveland Show fame. That's all I know her from. She plays
Okay,
the
right.
female bear in the Cleveland Show.
Okay, and used to be. I mean, the world is fragmented. This is the strange thing now.
There you go.
Uh, but so I think she, very successful, but had a kind of like collapse and like a burnout. And
Mm.
the trick for fixing it was no electronic devices in the bedroom. And
Yeah, okay. Damn
yeah,
it. I thought I was the first guy.
well, you may be the first guy, because I believe she's. Although I don't see gender, so I mean, people tell me she may be female, but
The first person.
but who knows now? I mean, everybody's in this fluid space. So,
Mm.
but yeah, it's really interesting that you mentioned Instagram, because it does. I mean, I've deleted Instagram from my phone a number of times.
Nice.
It does. It is dangerously kind of like an envy machine. In it's just. And Facebook the same way. I think this sort of parade of all of these other things going on
Oh
is
yeah.
just I don't know. You need to be some sort of like in some mentally enlightened place not to be strangely affected by it.
Of
And if that's what you're
course.
seeing first thing
Yeah.
in the morning, it's tricky. Yes.
For
Yeah. I mean,
sure. You never find yourself completing an Instagram binge, feeling good. Like, oh yeah, it was good to let all that in. It's designed to make you feel terrible. Like you said, the people who made social media aren't. They didn't do it out of the goodness of their heart to encourage togetherness. It was to make money and make big companies and stuff like that. So as a result, they worked on making it as addictive as possible. And
Yes.
yeah, you see some people, it's like they're too far gone. I see people who are so awkward. Like they have to take their phone out because they struggle to connect with people in real life, and it's
Right.
quite a sad sight.
Yes, yes, and it's, I think they often say, if you're not paying for a service, you are the product, and really what Facebook and
Mm,
Instagram are about is they're about they're advertising machines. They
yeah,
want our eyeballs on them as much as possible, so that a few ads can slip by, and then through the magic of subliminality and so on, our
yeah.
purchasing decisions when we come to them will lean towards these particular products.
Of course, yeah, and they know you well. Those things are getting better and better.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Well,
Mm.
that's, I mean, yeah, I mean, the thing I've done this year is deleting the apps from my phone. I still have the phone in my room. I'm often writing those 10 attempted jokes,
Yeah,
on my phone after midnight in my room as a kind of like just before going to sleep.
yeah, which
And
is totally fine. There's a big difference between using your phone to, watch TikTok videos of people
right.
dancing versus using your phone to write material. Like,
Yes, yes, absolutely.
yeah,
But
like the phone is very useful for many, many things, and it's
right.
made the world an easier place to navigate. I don't even know how people walked around without Google Maps.
It was we just really struggled.
Yeah,
People that like
conceivable.
didn't
Usually
show
an
up.
actual
We just
map.
the before years, Dylan. I mean, you're lucky to have been grown up in this social age. Back when I was young, it was just chaos. We're
I
yeah.
know it was probably very exciting and cool and interesting as well, but
It
that's the
was
chaos.
yeah. We didn't know any better. We didn't know any
Didn't know any
better.
better. Yeah, it's funny. I only watched Seinfeld for the first time recently,
Oh yeah,
and it was interesting to see like how many plot lines in that show you couldn't do today because
yeah,
all the conflict would have been solved by they would have called each other on their
yeah.
phones.
Exactly, exactly. No, no, no. Pretty much.
Yeah, there's that
In
one where
lots
they
of
go to
movies
the
like that.
Hamptons and Jerry and Elaine drive ahead of
Right.
I think it was George and Kramer,
Mhm.
and so they lose them. They know where to go because they didn't have phones back then. So
Right.
the trip's over for them. Whereas yeah, today there's no episode.
No, 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 absolutely. Well, I always like the first X-Men film. A big
Yeah,
portion of that film is about people being not knowing where each other, unable to contact each other. And it just
exactly.
is
Yeah, Wolverine would
extraordinary.
just call up Cyclops and
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's me. Okay, fine. Oh, that's a short movie.
drop me
Yeah,
your location on WhatsApp.
yeah, yeah. It's well, and also sorry to go off on the X-Men thing, but sort of a big
Mm.
aspect of the whole plotline is the fact that Professor X has this machine that allows him to find where the mutants are in the world, and this is like sort of
Ah,
magical ability to
true.
know where
So
people
true.
are, which is like, and now you're like, well, of course I know where everybody is. I can see them on Find My Friends in the,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. He just put up a story.
yeah, yeah.
He's in Trafalgar Square.
Uh, but so the what was I was saying on the yeah, I think you're mentioning about the useful things on the phone, and therein lies the rub in that
Hmm.
I, what I sometimes struggle with is I want the phone in my room for those making those notes in the moment. Um, I what I try and do is I try and make sure that I don't look at WhatsApp or messages until after breakfast.
Yeah.
But some days I accidentally will, and it's just there's this ongoing struggle with my own, like, even I can set an intention, but I still struggle with the willpower to do it sometimes. And so like for yourself there, like taking the phone out of the room,
Hmm.
it's interesting how we have to put up barriers of different kinds in order to manage our own willpower and activities, isn't it?
We do, yeah. I think we should, as like parents are doing that to their kids now.
Mm,
And yeah, like I think we should be kind of become our parents and understand that like, what you take in will
right.
affect you. So if you spend a half an hour just looking at how amazing everybody else's lives are in comparison to yours,
Hmm.
because social media is only the good stuff,
Mm,
yeah, it's going to affect your day to day. So you be conscious of stuff like that. And I think what the room thing did for me as well is it just made me realize how much happier I am when I'm not checking my phone
yeah.
constantly. So I actually don't end up doing it as much when I'm out and about.
Yeah.
You
Yeah. No,
know,
good.
I'll read a book on the train
Oh,
rather
brilliant.
than going on Facebook. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
again, it's still a really useful tool, and
Hmm.
I, in the position I'm in, same as you, we can't delete our social medias. We're in a place right now where we're not known comedians. We don't, we can't hire people to make content for us, so we're the
Right.
ones editing, crowd work clips or that
Yes.
clip or that joke really landed and stuff, and put it out there and being like, look at my funny. That is just how comedians make it nowadays, and for better or worse, that's the way it's going to be for a long time, I think. So
Yes.
we may as
Yes.
well just embrace that, but not get
Yeah.
swallowed up whole by it at the same time.
Mm, mm.
There's a healthy in between, I think.
Yeah. I mean, and we're talking about this to Ollie last week, and to pretty much everyone who comes on about the social media. The
Mm.
I guess the interesting. I mean, and so I mean, there's a like I end up having Instagram in the background on my phone because sometimes with some comedians, it's only Instagram that I'm connected to them on and sorting them out for a gig. Like some people are not on Facebook Messenger, short of
Yeah,
handing out my phone number to everybody. The messaging component of Facebook and Instagram is the way that we, arrange people to get them to gigs and find out about the gigs and so on. And so, which is it's kind of de rigueur. We need these messaging systems to organize
of
that.
course.
And
On the
then
day of a gig, because I run a gig myself,
yes,
in Camden and Soho every second Thursday.
yeah,
On the day of
brilliant.
the gig, you are
Cuts
checking
comedy. Get down
messages.
there. Best
Yes,
gig
please.
in
Yeah, please
Soho.
do.
Yeah, go.
Yeah, wonderful gig. Cuts comedy on Instagram, baby. There's a fun clip of me doing crowd work on that at the moment.
Hmm.
But on the day of the gig, you're just getting flooded with messages. Either, hey, is it okay if I don't
Yeah,
come till the second section, or people
yeah,
canceling
yeah.
and stuff like that. So you actually have to constantly be checking messages on Instagram and
Yes,
Messenger just to know what you're dealing with when you get there.
yes,
You know. So yeah, it's a useful tool as much as it can be a head wrecking tool.
yes, yeah, and
It's important, yeah,
yeah.
because
Well, and
comedians are flakier than a croissant, so
indeed so, indeed
you need to
so.
be checking on the day of the gig just to
Oh,
know
yeah,
when you get there who's actually going to be
yeah,
there.
and even during the gig, I mean,
Oh,
it's
totally,
like,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And then we were just to dig in a little bit further on the putting content on social
Mm.
media, which I think the received. Like, I mean, I'm not hearing anybody loudly say, "Oh, you shouldn't," put content on social media, or it seems like certainly for those of us at our level, we've internalized the idea that putting comedy content on social media is something that may help us going forward.
Oh
uh,
yeah.
which I guess I would just you're convinced of that. Is it similar to buying a lottery ticket? Is I mean, there's so much content out there.
Hmm.
Is it ever likely to have? I mean, so talking to Ollie last week, we can point to individual people who've blown up on social media, and I
Yeah.
and I guess that's we are those of us putting our comedy material onto social media are sort of hoping that something like that might happen. But how realistic is that? Do you know what I mean? Like for the number of people who are putting stuff onto social media, how many of them are actually getting benefit from it? I wonder.
Yeah, sure. I guess it's one or the other. At least that I know. I don't know anybody who got moderate success from social media. They either get
Mm,
nothing or like they took off and they can
yeah.
rent out a theater comfortably and sell
Mm,
enough seats that they're happy they made a bit of profit. So
yeah.
even something as small as that would be amazing. You know, um, yeah, it's if this is what you want to do, this is what you're pursuing. I think it's worth the gamble. I used to be of the belief that you shouldn't put your material on
Mm,
social media because you burned it. But now I feel like there's just so much out there anyway
right.
that if I posted a joke and that got, let's say, 1 million views, like it went viral, I could still tell that again the next day and it's fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I tend to be of the same mind, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Unless you're Louis C.K. or someone, like you can't do that and it's chill,
yeah, and I guess well, this is what we were talking about with Ollie last week. I mean, I think in principle, like if you had yeah, it seems like a thought. I can't see the logic of your burning material doesn't quite make sense to me. The burning material, that logic seems to come from a different age when
Hmm.
it's like, all right, you're going on primetime television and you're doing this joke to 25 million people, and
Yeah.
then actually the majority of those people in comedy clubs will already have heard that joke and it won't have the impact. And I just, like even when people blow up on social media, they don't necessarily have the reach that the old-fashioned,
No,
Tonight Show or whatever had back in the day.
yeah,
Um,
Tonight Show is exactly what I was gonna say. Like, yeah, back then you were burning material
right.
because if you had a grade five on Johnny Carson, then that will make your career. You can start touring on the road because people know you now. But obviously, you can't now do that 5 minutes that just destroyed.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know?
or at least you can't rely on that so much. Although
Yeah.
I think there's an aspect. People, I mean, I get this from podcasts of American comics talking about it. There are
Mm.
some people who want to hear the same joke in the way that, like with some bands, people
Yeah.
are looking forward to hearing that particular song. But there's a weirdness there. I've got another.
Yeah.
Oh, go
I
on.
suppose it does happen. There is that Eddie Murphy special where an audience member goes, "Say it again." Like he liked the joke so much that he
Yeah,
asked
just do it
Eddie
again.
Murphy to repeat the joke. So yeah, there's that too. I certainly, as a fan of comedy, obviously a more savvy fan of comedy than somebody who just watches it casually. I have no issue hearing a joke again that I really love, hearing a piece of
Mm,
material that I think is
mm.
brilliant.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, I think for me, like it's like with some of my favorite comedy albums, like
Mm,
Patton Oswalt is very very funny.
love him, yeah.
But it's unlike I can probably hear the same song like 4 or 5 times in a week, maybe, or probably less than that, and still be enjoying it. I
Yeah.
think with the same joke, I kind of rather wait like 9 months or a year, or you know, give it a while before I hear the same one again. But I mean,
Yeah,
this is the
certainly.
other thing that I think is funny about comedy is in some ways it is totally free to be what it wants to be, but then at the same time, sort of there's a kind of like set of rules that some people impose, or there's received wisdom, or yeah,
Mm,
I think everybody doing comedy should feel empowered to reinvent what it is, and
100%.
do it
Yeah.
different. Yeah, yeah. I was just going to say one other thing is I was so I wish I talked more about it on the podcast. I mean, I think,
Mm,
we still live in a very biased society. I mean, I'm very keen to, balance the bills that we have at Sunset Comedy in terms of, gender and race and all of these, sexual persuasion and all these sorts of things. One of the
oh,
things that I
yeah.
happen to be doing, so I managed to find this list of like all the currently working female comedians in the UK, and I
Yeah.
was busy having our Sunset Comedy Instagram, and I was just following all of them.
Mm.
And
You check their relationship status.
well, I'm happily married, but I was, these are the accusations that can get leveled. But
Yeah.
and I was,
Be careful.
yeah, I wanted to, partly to reach, to create a way to reach out to all of these, very very funny female comics, and
Yeah.
see if they might perform at our club. But part of the process of doing it was I was looking at the numbers of followers for all of these different, for like about 300 different female comedians. And
Mm.
what was interesting to see was, I mean, there were, particularly, famous ones who had multi-millions of followers, but then
Yeah.
there was people who were like at the 60,000 level, and there's people at the 10,000 level, and the people at the 5,000 level, and the people at the sort of 1,000 level, which is sort of
Mm.
more where I am at personally at the moment. And
Yeah.
but it's interesting to think about. Well, I mean, the ones who had very, very large numbers of followers were the ones who, done TV and all this, that, and the other. But I
Mm.
guess there's an extent to which, if you have got, let's say, 50 or 60,000 followers on Instagram, you haven't blown up, but
No.
that potentially when you're booking a club and you're sending your profile in, people are maybe going to notice that you have 60,000 as opposed to 1,000. I don't know if that influences anything.
Oh, I would say it does to some extent. Yeah, yeah. That's another thing that social media definitely plays in today's world that obviously wasn't the case,
Mm-mm.
in the 80s. Yeah, like how was that success being measured back then? I guess it was what credits you had and accolades and
Yeah,
stuff like
yeah.
that. Whereas, yeah, if somebody has a million followers, maybe the guy running the club doesn't think he's a great comedian, but he's shown that he will definitely sell out the venue. If they do a show there, they're going to book him in.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know?
it's gonna be gonna be a factor. And then
Yeah.
the maybe the final thing on this topic is, yes,
Mm.
I mean, you're um making videos and putting them up mainly on Instagram. Is that and that's you've got like a regular pattern of putting up one every few days or so, or how do you manage the work associated with that?
I want to try to get better at it. I want to try to get more consistent at it. At the moment, I'm trying to do one little sketch a week in one stand up clip. I post on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. And
Okay.
I was going to mention TikTok earlier. I have a very strict rule for TikTok because I saw people get so, you know, dive right into that and get utterly obsessed with it, and they look like zombies. They look like they're being
Yeah, yeah,
lobotomized as they're scrolling through. Just,
yeah, yeah.
I only have it up my iPad, and I use it to upload a video, and that's it. I don't look at any content on it whatsoever.
Yes, yes. Well, I've developed the same rule. It is extraordinarily addictive. I think
Yeah,
when the algorithm gets its hooks into you, and then the things that it shows you, and then the kind of yeah, there is. I mean, in some ways, it feels similar to me as the sort of almost the fascination that I have when I'm looking at a video of myself.
yeah.
TikTok seems to somehow replicate that with a kind of like, oh yeah, I mean, dancing Korean cheerleaders and stuff like that. Anyway, it's
When you click in the TikTok, it's just a clip of you doing stand up. Like, oh, they know me.
well, I mean that's
They
actually
got me.
that sometimes now when I mean I try not to look at any of the TikTok content. I mean it is somewhat ironic for both of us.
Mm.
I think we're putting our content onto TikTok because we want to take advantage of the medium, but it's a bit like we're encouraging people to smoke cigarettes but not smoke them ourselves. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's a fair point. Yeah, but if people are using it anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
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 I'm not forcing somebody to use TikTok to watch my videos. Just if I happen to pop up on somebody's feed as they're
right.
scrolling through it, then I mean, I won't lie. It does make my day when I go to post a video and I'm like, oh, how did the last video do? And I see
Yes.
someone's added to their favorites.
Oh
That's a nice
wow.
feeling.
Okay, yeah, I have yet to achieve that, so I'll look forward to
Oh,
the. I'm getting likes and comments, and I'm like it's wonderful to be getting that feedback. I mean, sometimes in my mind I question, are these real people or are these bots or what have you? But
mm,
they're getting the likes, and I'm kind of I feel like I've got a bit of a process now to help me filter out to get some of like the more reliable stuff because these are the ones that people are putting 40 or 50 likes on. Okay,
yes,
that's going to be maybe got something that's got a bit more legs that should be
got some
developed
juice. Yeah,
further.
sure.
But I get comments like, "Oh, that's 2 minutes of my life I'm not getting back," from
Ouch.
which is kind of I
Yeah.
always I like them and I respond to them and I say, "Yeah, unlike all of the other minutes in your life, which you get back with interest."
That's very good. That's a great comeback.
I like that. But
I,
the
I I tend to just ignore the haters, but hey, it's fun that
well,
you're
I'm sort
pouring
of
into them.
engaged. I had heard on other podcasts that like that this is of course one of the things with the algorithms is the more interaction there is on your stuff, the more the algorithm pops it
I
up.
know,
So
and
if
I'm
you
very aware of that, but I don't want to encourage negative people.
no,
Maybe I should. I do. I comment on all the positive comments with
right,
something silly, but never the
yeah,
negative boys. I remember I put up a joke of me talking about like my concerns about there being a World War III. A
oh
bit
yeah,
I had I used to kill, by the way, that now gets nothing, and I don't know why. It used to be one of my go-to bits, and now it gets zilch
mm,
whenever I try
mm,
to do it. But I put a clip. I was like, oh, I'm not really doing this anymore. I might as well put up a clip online of like a moment in time when it was doing really well,
mm.
and all the comments were like painful, pathetic, just like
Oh wow,
all hateful. I was like, oh, okay, great, lovely feeling, and like, yeah, I think there's literally like 5 or 6 all in a row, all
yeah,
just like
yeah,
shitting
yeah,
on the
yeah. Ugh.
set. And what would I have been encouraging if I were to comment on all of those?
Well, yeah. I mean, partly I respond to the negative ones. I don't know that I've had any positive comments yet,
Oh dear,
apart from possibly one or two comedian friends.
I'll start commenting.
Oh, lovely, thank you. Yes, it's but
There's
yeah.
2 minutes in my life I'll never get back. Plot twist, it was me.
And it's a funny thing, of course, because we're like as you were just saying, we're not by putting it up on TikTok, we're not requiring them to watch it. They can
No,
swipe if they don't like it, they can swipe away. But it's interesting if
yeah,
they stick around and then. But
and then say something hateful. Yeah, I was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
you watched the whole thing.
But I think that the it's interesting because there's a lot of hate out there on the internet, but I think it's generally been shown that if you actually respond to it, they're usually like, oh, they're kind of people are in when they're saying hateful things, it's
Mm,
telling you more about where they're at in their life than it
of
is anything to do
course.
to do with you. And
Yeah, they're fucking psychos. They're
well,
crazy people.
or they're just I mean that's one way a more charitable way to say that is that they're people who they're a mixed bag of of gray. They've got some good impulses and some bad impulses, and everybody gets angry and frustrated. And sometimes people are not at an emotional, kind of level where they can say, like, Mum, why didn't you love me? It just comes out as, that's 2 minutes of my life I'm not getting back. So
Yeah,
which
well,
is
okay, something like that where it's a bit more articulate. Yeah, maybe they're not psychos, but people that say kill yourself,
Oh,
that person,
well,
that
no,
person's
I
not
mean,
well.
yeah, yeah, and that's just that is evil. But I guess
Yeah,
even when they're doing that, I think that's saying more about how much psychological pain they're in than it
yeah.
is to do with other things. I don't know.
You're more empathetic than I am for these people.
And absolutely. I mean, I think all of these things. As we're talking about like managing how much whether we have devices in our rooms and whether we look at Instagram or TikTok or what have you. I mean, it's
Hmm.
all about managing what you can cope with, and in the same way that like this avalanche of seeing perhaps other people's success on Instagram can be psychologically overwhelming, the
Yeah,
seeing all of the hate could also be psychologically overwhelming, and I think it's
of
absolutely,
course.
it's a perfectly reasonable choice to say I'm not going to engage with those people. I mean, I think experimentally I am engaging with the TikTok people. We will see how long I last with this approach of trying to greet the hate with joy. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, yeah, that probably is a very good attitude because it's you're not allowing yourself to take it in too much. Then you're just responding with jovialness, which
Yes.
I'm sure is actually helpful. You're just laughing it off because what else can you do? You can't control what these people think of you, so you may as well just have a little laugh about it. You know?
Yes, yes, and I think it would be if I was getting like 0 likes on, and then it was like only hateful comments. But the fact that I've
Exactly.
got like this person saying this thing, but there's like 15 people have liked the video. It seems like
Yeah,
okay.
I
Um,
posted a picture of that recently. Is yeah, I had put up some stand up clip and I had gotten the notification like this person added your video to their favorites,
mm,
and then the comment so lame, full stop. I was like, this is social media in a nutshell. These,
yes, yes, yes,
super positive or super negative, no in between.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And then I think and it's a well-known cognitive you know thing for humans is that it is very tempting to focus on the negative stuff and at
I
the
know.
and so I think we have to constantly combat that by
Yeah.
focusing on the positive. I
A
mean, oh,
lecturer in my university gave me great advice for that. Well,
oh
just
yeah,
get the class great advice that really stuck with me is when someone gives you a positive feedback, you
yes,
don't really take it in that much.
no,
So you may as well be the same with negative feedback.
yes, yes. I
You
think that's
know,
that's
easier
great
said than
advice.
done, but if you take that in, yeah, it's true, and just keep pursuing that creative thing that you're doing, and
Mm, mm,
in the curious way that it makes you want to keep pursuing it.
yeah.
If you're not taking in the positive stuff, which to be fair won't benefit you that much anyway. Don't take in the
Mm.
negative too much either. Just keep doing your thing.
Yeah, no, well, to come back to what we said started on with, I
Yeah,
think about the artist discovering their truth and articulating their truth. Although
indeed.
another piece of advice related to that is
Mm.
apparently if you do focus on the positive thing for at least 20 seconds, you will take it in. So there's a
Ah.
kind of like, if you spend some dwell time, and actually, I mean, I've kind of got addicted to LinkedIn recently because I've been doing a lot of sort of like technical professional stuff and posting,
Mm.
and people
You're
have been
showing your
saying,
age.
I am indeed, but which is that's
I
part
can't
of
get
my
off
core.
LinkedIn.
A part of my core. I think was it the Adam Bloom has you've got to find these 3 words to describe yourself, as a comedian. And I think I'm like
Mm.
energetic, narcissistic dad is my
Yeah,
yeah,
you have
which is
that
good.
energy. And may I be the first person to wish you a happy Father's Day?
Oh, thank you very much. Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
it was
brilliant.
yesterday.
It was yes, and we had a lovely Father's Day. Yes, I've got 3 sons, and that's yeah. And did you speak to your father yesterday?
I called my father up and I gave him an Amazon voucher because he is impossible to shop for, so I just let him do it himself.
There you go. Brilliant, brilliant.
I think
Yes.
it's the best thing to do. Yeah.
Yep, yep. It's good. It's good. Fathers can, they're not all. They're some fathers are known to be unreliable. Other fathers, well, anyway, I think it's, but
No, he's a good man.
oh yeah,
He
oh,
just has no interests.
There's not at all aimed at your father, who, from your comedy sounds like, he's got a great sense of humor. But
I mean, most of the stuff he says in my act, I rose. I
I can
mean,
imagine.
he's a funny guy. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah,
not as
yeah.
funny as me, but
Well,
he's all right.
I mean, you can't reach godlike levels of comedy just like by being born in Ireland. You got to work like you've been doing.
Of
But
course,
yeah,
yes.
no, no. I mean, I
I
mentioned
am the Superman to his What's Superman's dad's name again? Jor-El.
Oh, to Jor-El. Yes, your
Yeah,
Kal-El to Jor-El. There you go. Yeah,
there you
brilliant.
go.
Yeah, fantastic superhero origin story. Yes. No, I mean
Mm.
more. I was sort of like connecting in with. I mean, I was just listening to a podcast today in with a comedian. I think Shane Torres, whose father had kind of like left and was a bit of a deadbeat and really struggled and just I think there's often very positive feelings towards mothers generally and fathers it can be a bit more ambivalent, but I think
Complicated.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I think Father's Day is important. It's some fathers do try hard and do contribute. Anyway, I don't know
of course.
what have I run off on here. I'm
You're having
trying to
a
bring.
pro dad rant.
I'm trying to have a pro. I'm just saying, like we're trying to be better. Men, I think fathers, we're all we've got room to improve. We've got to smash that patriarchy and somehow like
Yeah.
smash
No,
the
I
head of
mean,
the. Anyway.
I haven't seen you with your kids or anything, but I can tell you're a good dad. You're a good man. You're a kind soul.
Oh well, thank you. That's lovely. I mean, I did actually. I
Yeah,
had
I would
another.
like you to adopt me.
Well, we can see how it can be arranged. Once my own kids have left home, we'll
Okay,
probably
well,
we'll need
we'll
something to
wait till
fill
I'm in
that
my
void.
30s, I guess.
I'm kind of adopting this community of comedians. But no, I
I'm
actually,
ready.
I had another, I had an older father, a friend who's a father, reach out to me
Mm.
yesterday, and he was saying very positive, like just out of the blue, and was saying, you've done really well as a father, and it's lovely. It's lovely to like. So I mentioned this, right? This is the context of LinkedIn, and I'm getting a lot of positive feedback through other social media at
That's
the
nice.
moment, and I'm
Yeah.
just trying to remind myself to focus on those positive things because I think it does help lift. And in terms of then having the energy to be creative and so on, like even just I've just been posting like some of the things I've done well on TikTok. I've posted them on Instagram, and just I've had like one or two comments from people from who know me from virtual reality,
Mm.
um, like saying nice things and following me, and so I'm feeling even with that, okay, those kind of little connections with people maybe make it all worthwhile.
100%. Yeah, yeah. It's important to take in the good and what helps you and what serves you and not the bad. Yeah, sometimes it's easier said than done. You're gonna take in a comment that really, hits you at your core or whatever, but
Mm,
just to learn to not let it remain there,
yeah,
brush it
yeah,
off.
absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
be a goldfish, as they say in Ted Lasso, which I think is
Oh, right.
beautiful 3 words. Be a goldfish.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
Yes, yes, live in the moment.
hundred
Yeah, thank
percent.
you.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
What do your kids make your comedy, or have you shown them any clips
Well,
of you?
I think that they are generally quite embarrassed that
Sure.
their father's doing it, and I think my twins are sort of viscerally they kind of don't even want to see it. But my older son, who's 20, is now he follows me on Instagram and has now liked some of my
Oh, that's nice.
reels on there. So I think yeah, but my extended family, many of them have come to see my comedy and been very
Yeah,
complimentary about it. My immediate family is sort of painfully embarrassed, and
sure, sure.
I don't want to put any pressure on them to, like just my partner's very is kind of opposite. I'm very extrovert, outgoing, and
Mm.
so yeah, it's a strange. I mean, I just really enjoy. Uh, the comedy and yeah sometimes I have my immediate members of my family apologizing. Oh, I'm sorry that we're not coming. I'm like, no, it's no pressure. I enjoy this for me. I don't need you to be enjoying it as well. I know that
Absolutely.
you find these
Yeah,
things
yeah.
challenging, but it's not for
Totally.
everybody. But I'm
Mm.
reminded before we just well, time is rushing on. I want to get some of the other questions. I'm just reminded of
Sure.
something we were saying in the pre-show about the virtual reality, which is another technology that I'm using
Mm.
to avoid having to travel to quite something. I did, as I was saying before, three virtual reality gigs a week and like two live ones, and it's great in terms of not having to travel. But there is this weird aspect of effect. If you imagine doing a gig where you're wearing a mask and
Yes.
everybody else in the room is wearing a mask, and
Mm.
some of the people in the room, though those masks might be animated to show expressions based upon their underlying faces, but probably the majority of the people in the room, they're wearing sort of fixed masks. You can hear if they laugh, but
Yeah.
there are there's very limited range of expression. And
Mm.
I was saying to you in the pre-show, sometimes I worry that by doing so many gigs in that environment that I'm somehow stunting my ability to grow as a live performer, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's a very modern day problem. I mean, I'm immediately intrigued that you do three virtuals a week and two lives. So you're doing virtual gigs more often than live gigs.
Mm,
It's
mm,
fascinating. I mean, they have to be two different beasts, I would imagine.
yeah.
I've never done a virtual reality gig, but they must be different beasts. I mean, it's very interesting. It could almost be a Black Mirror episode, like this
Yes.
comedian who explodes on VR comedy.
Right, right.
I love to
Yes.
see it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and it's they. Well, maybe we should make it. It's
Yeah, Mark
yeah,
Maron can play you.
yeah. Wow, wow. That'd be amazing. Or
I
I could
see
play.
it.
Yeah, that's yeah. New
He's a good
sketch idea.
actor. I think he could channel your energy. I'm not sure if he can do
It's,
the accent. We can just get him to be American for it. But
yeah, it's
yeah,
or well, maybe I mean, almost in some ways more interesting to make it a whole Mark Baron thing. But of course, for me, it's like the opportunity. I want to be the star, like I was Gandalf in the Lord of the Rings. Anyway,
yeah. No, of course
um,
you should be in it. I wanted to cast somebody.
yeah, we were. Well, he could be my mentor or something.
He could be
Anyway,
your mentor. Perfect.
well, I think that
Or he
probably
can be the old school comedian who's like,
right.
"What the hell is this? You should just be doing it live, man." That
Yeah.
makes more sense for him, I think. The
Yes.
bicker
Yes.
curmudgeon
Yes.
who
Yes.
can't get with the times.
Very much so. Very much so. Well, great sketch
Yeah,
idea there, or indeed,
Charlie Brooker, if you're listening, man,
yeah, or full
hear that's
movie
up,
if people want to fund us. But I'm
please.
just interested talking about my own, five acts a week, as it were, getting up 5 times a week at the moment with this weird mix of virtual and what's your current process? What does your current week look like in terms of like how frequently you're getting up? What kinds of, I mean, you've also got acting and you've got right, like recording sketches and so on that you're doing as well.
Mm-hmm.
How I mean, and you're like many of us working to keep the wolf from the door.
Yeah.
How much comedy and writing and so on do you manage to fit in during the course of the week?
Yeah, I mean, my schedule right now is like probably the busiest I've ever been in terms of just like multiple projects on the go.
Oh,
But
really?
like I feel like I'm happy with how busy I am.
Mm,
I'm fulfilled, and I like that
great.
my I don't have a great deal of free time, but all that free time is being used up doing fun, creative things
Mm, mm,
that bring me excitement. Yeah, I mentioned earlier I'm working on a play, so that's taking up a lot of time right now because
mm.
that's coming up soon. But in regards to comedy, I try to do three a week. I'll
Yeah.
squeeze in the fourth one if I can.
Mm, mm.
And I do the either quintessential comedy or cuts every other Thursday.
Every Thursday.
And that's a really fulfilling
You're
little
emceeing.
number for me to have because I MC it, so I get the opportunity to, I kind of obviously within reason don't take the piss, but
Yeah.
you have unlimited stage time
Yes.
to work on new jokes, do that type five and see how that's coming along, or type 10.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I find that very fulfilling. And then you can do crowd work, and
Mm,
the whole process of being an
yeah.
MC is so much looser, which I find super rewarding when it goes well. Because you can
Yes.
sometimes have an evening where the audience is like, they don't want to hear much from the MC.
Sure.
And you're like, no, guys, I'm a comedian as well. I'm not just the host.
Right. Right.
um, but particularly cuts, I think, is typically kind of a younger, hip, cool
Yes.
crowd that are just down for. I'll even say I'll open the second half usually doing all new stuff, and I'm like,
Yes.
hey, second section out, things are getting a bit looser. You
Hmm.
know who I am. Cool if I do some new stuff, and they're usually like, yeah, let's
Yeah.
go for it. And that's just a really fun, like no, what's the word? No risks,
Yeah.
like place that just
Yes.
do a brand new 5 or 7 minutes of material.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know?
Yeah, and you've got I think you've
Yeah.
got great energy as an MC,
Thank
and
you.
it's I love coming to cuts and particularly when you're MCing and
We
yeah,
love
I
having
think I
you.
think for we would probably say for every comedian out there, I mean get MCing gigs, on
Highly
top of
recommend.
not maybe not exclusively necessarily unless that
No,
but I think it's such a valuable thing to be doing regularly to improve your craft, isn't it?
100%. Yeah, like I said, just yeah, having that unlimited stage time because it can definitely be a crux I found early on of just feeling the pressure of having to stick to 5 minutes because I didn't want to piss off the guy, the
Yeah.
booker or the MC. So yeah, just having that limited stage time is great, and it just makes you looser because you're talking to the
Mm.
audience. You're engaging with them a lot more than you
You
typically would if
respond
you're
to the
just doing a
moment.
regular
Yeah.
set. Yeah, which just naturally makes you more present. And for me, it's definitely helped me in going on and just doing regular sets as well, keeping that energy of being an MC.
Yeah.
You know. yeah, so it's a very valuable experience, even if it's not what you want to do in the long run. I
Sure.
recommend it to anybody.
Yeah, yeah,
And
definitely.
if it doesn't end up being for you, it doesn't end up being for you. But it's
Sure.
definitely worthwhile to try a few gigs. I wouldn't just
Yeah.
do one and be like, I suck at this, I'll never do it again.
Yeah, yeah.
Give it a few because it will take you time to get good at it. It's a different discipline to
Yeah.
doing regular stand up, but it's very valuable, I
Yeah,
find.
yeah. And then there's
Yeah.
good MC courses as well that one can do to kind of ease one,
Nice. Yeah.
which is good. Logan Murray has a good one, and also Ben van der Veld. I always get his name wrong, but yeah,
One
maybe we'll put
name.
them in the show notes. But so
Fabulous.
yeah, the are there any people who've affected your life and comedy that we haven't mentioned that we should give shout outs to?
As in like people I know personally or
I mean,
comedians
I
who
think,
inspired me.
it's sort of um the podcast is sort of technology, people and drugs, and the idea is to look at,
Mm.
for a comedian, what's affected their comedy and their life, and with particular emphasis on those three things. So, how's
Okay.
technology, what people have affected you the most? I mean, you mentioned already that, Jimmy Carr and Ricky Gervais were influences. Obviously this guy who did the YouTube series. You've spoken about your mother and father, but yeah, is there
Yes.
anybody else who's been a big influence on you, whether that's a famous comedian that you saw, or just somebody who helped you out on the circuit, or you know who are the important people in your life that are making a big difference, or maybe you're a lone wolf. I mean, what's it?
Oh no, there's definitely people who have made a difference for me. Just to kind of name like people who inspired me. Like the first person I really like got me into stand up was Louis C.K.
Oh, really? Okay.
I realized so far I've only said problematic comedians, and I'm gonna stick to it.
Yeah, you
Scandal
go.
noted. But yeah, like Louis C.K., I watched his show on Fox, not knowing that he was a stand up in real life, and then
Right,
saw one of his
right.
specials and was like, oh, he actually does stand up, and laughing for the whole hour. So
Mm-hmm.
he's definitely what got me into the craft of stand up.
Mm-hmm.
But then I started watching this guy called Mike Birbiglia. Are you
Yes, yes.
familiar with him?
Oh, yeah, I'm very familiar with him.
He's
Yes.
my favorite stand-up comedian. I would
Yeah.
say he's what made me feel like I could do it because I felt like
Okay.
we had similar sensibilities,
Right.
you
Right.
know. And yeah, I'm absolutely obsessed with Mike Birbiglia. I saw his show, The Old Man in the
The
Pool,
pool. Yeah.
twice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw when he brought it just to Leicester Square Theatre, and it wasn't like a fully realized show yet.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
saw it again when he did in a proper West End space. It was the
Mm.
whole complete thing that you
Mm.
can now watch on Netflix. So it was super inspiring to see like him
Mm.
develop that hour.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are like the people I revere, who I'm into in terms of like people in my life who I give credit to. Definitely, yeah, my buddy Kelby Guilfoyle, who like was just trying it out and
Oh,
brought
yeah.
me along. He didn't end up doing it. I don't think ever did any other gig actually.
Mm.
Don't
Yeah. Well,
hold
he
me
was
to
just
that, but
he was
I
on
don't
to new
think.
things, constant
Mhm.
newness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Good
I
for
don't
him.
think so. But yeah, definitely have them to thank. Honestly, you and Dave Lynch, who runs
Mm.
Cuts and Quins and gave it to me after he moved to Portugal. It's like people, people who are older than me and like trust me in those kind of responsible positions is has I don't take that responsibility lightly, but I'm also flattered, and it definitely boosts my confidence that people want to give me those opportunities.
Yeah, that's great to hear.
Um,
And of course, yeah, maybe I should have said at the beginning. Of course, you work with us at Sunset Comedy and do a fantastic job there. And yeah,
very
it's
much.
I mean, it's seeing your energy at places like Cuts and thinking, yeah, this is a guy we want to
Ah,
have involved with us.
Look,
Yeah,
thank you very much, Jude. I appreciate it. And yeah, I definitely couldn't not mention my pal Ollie Miller as well, who
Ollie Miller.
who mentioned me several times on his podcast with you. So I'm sure
Yeah.
people are at this point beginning to think that we're lovers, and I'm honestly not sure. We'll
Well,
find out.
it's an interesting and complex universe. This is the kind of love triangle stuff that needs to be explored on social media that will eventually take us all to fame and fortune. I'm sure.
Exactly.
I'm sure we'll get there in one form or another. Yeah, it's
Yes. We
yeah,
may
brilliant.
make love someday, but it won't be in person. It'll be at your VR gig.
But this is the thing, that the VR sex is becoming a very, very big thing. I mean, I have well, I mean, let's not go there. I'm not participating in that at the moment, but
Okay.
I mean, I use a Meta Horizon Worlds, which is kind of like a family friendly one. There's this VR chat thing that apparently has got very raunchy, but that's a whole other story.
Well, now I'm going to invest.
Yeah, only
But yeah, I had to mention, I had to be squeezing your sex in the middle of me mentioning my comedy inspiration. That it would be an inspiration for me for sure. Is all the sexual antics on virtual reality.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I didn't.
Get in, as they say.
There we
That
go.
sounds wrong. Yeah.
I didn't finish the point I made about Ollie. It's just that he is like definitely my closest friend that I made in stand
Mm.
up. Like we're very different as comedians, but we both really
Mm.
appreciate each other's acts.
Yeah.
And we run new material by each other
Mm,
a
mm.
lot. And I think it really helps that we respect each other as comedians, but because we're so different, there's no way there'll ever be any crossover.
Right, right.
You know what I mean? Like he doesn't talk about himself, and I don't talk about consciousness. So
Right, right. There you go.
there's no
Yeah.
crossover there. So it's really helpful to run bits by each other as always sort of the outsider looking in because our material is so utterly different.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and we also message each other when we've had bad gigs and stuff, just being like, "Oh, tonight sucked," and we console each other that way too, which has been endlessly helpful to me, and I hope to him too.
Yeah, no, and I think I believe so, and I think it's one of the things
Yeah.
that I think we all, that we love about the comedy is not just the kind of highs and lows that we have from the stage. It's the people that we meet in the community, this sort of
Oh
camaraderie
yeah.
of all the people who are in it and trying to get better at it and doing it together. And yeah, I think it was Mariah Bowden was talking about her working relationship with comedy relationship with Molly Mole and how they're
Mm,
texting each other each day,
they're
and I
great.
think being able to share the journey like that is fantastic.
It's so valuable. Yeah, I think it's super important to have a friend. Yeah, if there's
Yeah,
anybody listening who is thinking about doing comedy, that's definitely a piece of advice I can impart upon
yeah,
somebody. It's just have a friend who's in the same boat as you.
yeah,
You know,
yeah. And
it's
and I think if and it's not necessarily about having to bring a friend into comedy. It's that I think if you come
no.
and do comedy regularly, you will make friends and
Oh no, I'm
you will
saying
make
make a friend.
connections.
Yeah,
Yeah,
don't
make a
drag
friend.
one of
Yeah,
your own friends in the comedy.
yeah, that's
that,
trickier.
that could be quite cruel if it's not something they're interested in.
Absolutely. No, you will do some difficult friendship
Yeah, that's
dynamics
the thing.
there.
A buddy of mine who was a year below me in university asked me recently, was saying that she was thinking about doing comedy and
Oh yeah.
would I recommend it? And I said honestly, I was like, if it's something you really want to do, then
Right,
go for it. But
right,
like, I don't want to be like, oh my god, yeah, it's so fun, do it, and you
right.
go and you have some tough gigs, and you find it really challenging. Like I want that it can be tough, and
Yeah,
if it doesn't end up being something you love, that's okay. I don't feel like you have to stick to it
yeah.
because yeah, it can be tough. Like it's not all sunset and roses. I was gonna say
No,
sunshine and
no.
roses, but hey, sunset comedy. Any opportunity to plug
Woo! Yeah, but it can be an emotional roller coaster,
for
not necessarily
sure.
for the faint-hearted. But I think if
Yeah,
you if you're I mean, I think I said everybody give it a try and see if you like it. And if you don't like it, don't carry on doing it. If
that
you
is totally fine. Yeah.
if you get the bug, it's I was just going to jump back to you mentioned the influences. I was
Mm.
also very impressed with. I mean, Louis C.K. and Mike Birbiglia were both people that I kind of discovered on Spotify,
Uh,
like comedy albums, and I
yeah.
really enjoyed their earlier stuff. And then I do find with their it's interesting as I've listened to a lot of Mike Biglia's Working It Out. I think
Oh,
it's
such
his
good. My
podcast.
favorite podcast,
But ironically
apart from
having
comedians on technology and
of
drugs,
course, of course. Um,
which is definitely the name, word for word.
but I think the funny thing is that almost seeing so much of the structure of Mike's process, I feel slightly less able to enjoy his more recent thing because I'm kind of it's almost like I'm a bit too aware of how constructed it is. I don't know if
Sure.
that makes
You,
any sense, but
yeah, you
but
feel like you're too much of a part of the process now. I love it personally. I,
yeah,
I I really enjoyed like being such a deep fan in that way now, which I didn't have
yeah,
his specials prior to the first one. The first special he brought out after the podcast was the old man in the pool. Yeah, and then
yes,
like
yes,
he did material for his guests
yeah,
on
on the
those
podcast.
podcasts. Yeah, that would end up being used in the show, and plenty of jokes that didn't end up being used.
Mm,
As a comedian, I find that super interesting and really cool, and I really enjoyed it. But yeah, I can understand for maybe it could be a comedian like yourself, or maybe someone who's a casual viewer. Maybe they've been too exposed to
yeah. I
the
mean,
process.
I think it was. I mean, I'm wonderful that he exposed all of these things, and it was absolutely fascinating to see it.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's great jokes in it and very much enjoyable. But I think when
Oh,
I
yeah.
compare listening to Old Man in the Pool versus listening to some of his earlier things, I think
Yeah.
that my enjoyment of it as a whole, it's almost
Hmm.
like being I could sort of see the wires,
Yeah.
so to
Yeah.
speak, and I so not that it's not wonderful, but yeah, there's something about. I mean, also since I was listening to his early albums, I've been doing a lot more of my own comedy, and there's
Yes.
actually a lot of parallel with once I was a FA football coach for my kids. Like my relationship with football changed, and that's another story. But
Mm.
we're running out. I'm very keen to
Okay.
get into the last couple of questions, which is are drugs of any kind affecting your perception of reality? And of course, by drugs, that could be just aspirin, or it could be harder substances, legal or illegal, or whatever you're prepared to talk about. Do you find? I mean, some people would say that certain kind of drugs are essential for creativity. Other people would say they don't never touch anything. What's
Mm.
how does it work with Dillon Harris?
Yeah, well, I took a line before recording this, so there's that. No, I definitely. I mean, I am an Irish man. I
Uh-huh.
like many, I am fond of a drink, and sometimes I don't know what to stop.
Right.
I mean, I'm a fun drunk. I'm not angry
Right.
or abusive or anything drinking.
Mm.
I've definitely had evenings where I've had one too many, and
Mm.
one of those evenings may have been 2 nights ago. Super recently. But yeah, I definitely felt the issue early on. I don't even know if I call it an issue because at the time I definitely didn't see it that way. Is I would have to have at least one drink before going on stage
Oh, really? Okay.
to ease my nerves. Yeah, I did,
Yeah.
and I tried to ease off it for a bit, and I was more nervous about having a drink. And then I
Mm.
read Graham Norton's autobiography, and he said that he has a drink before doing his show,
Oh,
and
really?
that made me go, "Ha, I'm good. If a
Okay.
pro like Graham Norton can do it, why
Uh-huh.
can't I?"
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
But then I've definitely had experiences too where I'm not on to like late in the second half, and I've had three, and I'm too drunk. I'm
Uh,
too I'm slurring my words, and my timing is off.
mm,
So
mm, mm,
one drink I think is okay. I mean, obviously it's probably better if you have no drink. One drink I think
mm.
is okay to loosen you up if you're feeling a little nervous. But I would to anybody who is using alcohol as a substance to loosen them up before going on stage, I wouldn't go past one.
Yeah.
It gets you dumb. Um, and yeah, it helps with your timing. It makes you less
Mm,
present.
mm.
Um, so yeah, alcohol has definitely been. It's too easy. Every gig you go to, there's a bar.
Yes. Yes, indeed. Indeed.
you
And
know.
absolutely. I mean, and which I noticed early on, and I think, I mean, I got very, very drunk the first few gigs that I had I never drank anything before going on stage, but then afterwards, like, whee! But I just,
Oh,
that was partly what tipped me over to giving up alcohol completely, is I just knew that a bit like with the TikTok or the whatever else,
mm,
I find it very difficult to control my urges, like in the if things are available. And but
yeah,
if I set a bigger rule for myself that says, right, I am now not drinking, and I will, that's just it's off the table, then that's easier
100%.
to manage. And so, much as I enjoyed drinking alcohol for many years, generally non-problematically, yeah, I've taken it out. But I think yeah, there's I think if one can manage and things in moderation,
Yeah.
that's great. But so is then I mean for Ollie, it was like caffeine was his particular
Oh, I love
thing
coffee
of
too. Yeah.
yeah, you're a big coffee fan.
Yeah, I have 2 cups a day.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Anything else? Any other substances that you find you rely upon, or even that maybe you have a policy that you avoid those things? I mean, we're just interested in knowing, how you navigate the world of substances.
Yeah, that I rely upon. No, alcohol and coffee would be my two elixirs, both for very different reasons, obviously.
Sure.
One to tune me into the world, and one to tune me out.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
I've experienced. And mom and dad, if you're listening to the podcast, stop listening now. But I lived with a guy. The last place I lived in before moving here, that last place I lived in Ireland,
Yes.
who was a huge stoner, very
Mm,
into all sorts of
mm,
drugs, and was very willing to share.
mm,
And the period I was in at that point in my life, having been in the lockdown for a year, I was very willing to try stuff.
mm,
Yeah, I did a bit of weed and stuff like that, and never really enjoyed weed that much.
no.
found it just made me overthink. I had a few good highs for sure, but
Yeah.
more so the overthinking and thinking everybody hates me and
Yeah.
just anxiety ridden stuff.
Mm,
Um,
mm,
we had a couple of occasions we did MDMA together,
mm,
and I fucking loved MDMA.
mm, mm,
But I remember, when would that have been? Yeah, it was New Year's Eve 2020 going into 2021. I
mm,
had
mm,
so much MDMA and
mm.
was on top of the world. It was a big house party. We're all
Yeah.
doing it. We're all feeling each other's jaws. I'm like, oh my God, this wall is incredible. Everything's amazing. But
Uh-huh.
then the come down I had after didn't go away for a whole week, and I felt so fucking depressed. And I was like,
Uh-huh.
I'm never going to stop being depressed ever again.
Oh dear.
And it went away after a week, and I was all
Yeah.
fine dandy
Yeah.
after that. But I was like, okay, the high is not worth the low after.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I
yeah,
think that's
haven't done it since then. Yeah.
yeah, that's many people's experience. And I think also for our
Mm,
listeners, please be very careful with these substances. But yeah, yeah,
100%.
it's there are strange things out there. Do be careful as you're navigating the world. Yeah, well, I mean, that's
100%.
talking about feeling the wall there. That leads us nicely into
Mm.
our final question of like, what does it all mean? This life, the universe, and everything. Are there walls? What do they feel like? Like, how do you make sense of this? Whatever this is that we're in.
Whatever brings you joy, whatever makes you passionate and happy, and that's many different things from many different people. One of the biggest things for me has been having a creative career and trying out
Mm,
different things. Being creative makes me feel connected to the universe in a way that
mm,
a lot of other
mm,
things haven't. It feels like I'm leaving my mark on the world in a
mm.
way that feels true to who I am, that I can't always evoke in my personal day to day life. So
Right.
that's what works for me. So yeah, whatever makes you feel like you're leaving your mark and living your life to the fullest while you're here, as long as that thing isn't hurting other people, do
Right.
that.
Well, I mean, you've summed it up amazingly, and it makes me think
Yes.
actually
And
is
now I will burst into a beam of light and descend into the
Whee!
stars.
Yay!
So it
He was
was
only with us for a short time, but we were lucky to have him. Yeah, yeah.
27 Club.
It's but it's interesting you say that. I mean, I think it makes me think of what I would call the before times, is as in before I was doing stand up and now doing stand up, and there is yeah, it's I mean I sometimes I try to remind myself to be like because there was a point in my life when I thought that was an impossible dream, that I would never be doing it, and it was just like a silly thought, and I just wasn't capable of it, and now I seem to be doing it
Wow.
regularly, and
Yeah.
it's I think, as you say, that there's something about that process of being creative that suddenly life takes on a different texture. I mean,
Hmm.
I've been lucky to have a relatively creative job that I've done for many years and derived some, but there's a
Lovely.
kind of there's a sort of there's a different level of thing, and well, it's an interesting question about where the creativity comes from. I remember Jimmy Carr being interviewed on the Comedian's Comedian podcast and talking about where does this stuff come from? I mean,
Yeah.
when you sort of think, with his personality, say, oh yeah, I make these amazing things, but there's this sense to which, are we, are our brains somewhat like radios, and rather than us creating the things, we are tuning in to some sort of like universal something that allows the ideas to flow through us. I don't, I mean, I hear other people talking about that. I don't know that makes sense to me, but that's
Mm.
it's beautiful that what you described there as you're getting like it sounds like you're happy. Sounds like you're getting a lot from life through the creative outlets that you have.
Yeah, I am. I find it super fulfilling, and I find that doing multiple things, they complement each other, but they also bring out different sides of me, which I
Mm.
like
Yeah,
the multifacetedness of my being, which I find super exciting and rewarding. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. And
I wouldn't take one
um,
over the other.
yeah, and just out of
Yeah.
interest, I mean, is there a kind of a religious or spiritual framework in which that sits, that you're busy doing this for the Lord, or doing it in spite of the Lord, or trying to like deny there's a Lord? But I mean, I'm just interested in like I don't think there has to be any more. Like what you've articulated is perfect as it is, and it should be enough. I just wonder if there was. I mean, you mentioned your mother was a religious woman.
Religious woman, yeah, for sure. I have not practiced as intensely as she has. Um, I was raised Irish Christian. I definitely had several years of saying I was an atheist. I've kind of gone back into a little bit more now.
Mm,
I feel a spiritual connection. I can't quite explain what that is. No one
mm.
can. I'm willing to admit it. I'd lean more towards agnostic now, and that like
Sure.
I feel spiritual and I feel like something's
Yeah.
looking after me, but I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah. The I don't know seems like the sensible position, really. I mean, maybe maybe God, or maybe some people experience God talking to them and thinking, and so like internally they have certainty. But certainly my experience of the world is, yeah, I mean, you know, there's all sorts of explanations for the world and why it exists and what have you, and I don't have any privilege and insight into which is the correct one, if any of them is correct. It's
Yeah.
yeah. And I would describe myself as well as sort of agnostic in as much as, yeah, I mean, I think, what would be, I'm fascinated to find out what happens when we die.
Hmm.
It's a big adventure, almost as big as the stand-up adventure we're on now.
Almost as big.
Almost as big, not quite as,
Passing away.
yeah, we'll see. I mean, can it compete? I don't know. They say
Yeah.
DMT is released when you die, but who
Hopefully
knows?
they show you all footage of you doing stand up when you pass away, and then
Well, that'll be my dream come true because I do love
exactly.
watching myself back.
That's what I'm saying. You can watch all the
Sounds great. Look forward to it right now.
That's
Wonderful.
your idea of heaven.
Good stuff. Well, it's
Beautiful.
been a wonderful conversation, Dylan. Thanks so much for taking the time. There
Thank you
is
for having me.
wonderful. How can people, if people want to see more of you, where should they go?
I think the easiest jumping off point for me is going to my Instagram, Dillon Harris Comedy.
Mhm.
Dillon spelled Dillon. Because yeah, there you can see what I got going on, and there's also a link to my link tree, which I update
Mm. Right.
regularly with shows I have going on. You can find my YouTube and TikTok and everything else that way as well.
Yes.
So yeah, I think Instagram is probably the easiest jumping off point. You ever think I was shitting on earlier? That's the best way to find me.
That's right. Like as you know, so every control your envy and get yourself back on Instagram to
Exactly.
see what
If
Dylan
you
is doing.
enjoy listening to my voice, I also have my own podcast
Oh
I
yeah, yeah.
do bi-weekly called Dylan and Sebastian Have a Simpsons podcast, where
Fantastic.
it's exactly what I just said. We talk about the Simpsons. If that's your cup of tea,
Brilliant, brilliant. We'll
come
get
on
a link.
over.
Yeah, let's get a link to that in the show notes. And of
Yeah.
course, people can see you at Sunset Comedy, at Cuts Comedy, and it's Quintessential Comedy. And we'll
And
get
other
links.
random gigs around
Yeah,
London, outside the UK every now and again,
yeah.
sometimes Ireland. Yeah.
Brilliant, brilliant,
Mhm.
fantastic. Well, thanks everyone, and for listening. And remember, you can help support comedians on technology, people, and drugs by going to patreon.com/comedians on, where any level of support will help us continue to produce this show. I don't think anybody has yet given us any support, so you could be the first. Thanks again to Dylan Harris for taking the time to be on the podcast, and to all the listeners, please do follow us on Facebook, and we'll see you all again soon. I have to change that, or I guess what we do, you will hear our voices again soon. But last word to the guest, Dylan Harris.
My last word would be to just choose happiness. Happiness can be different things to many different people, but objectively to everyone, happiness is Sunset Comedy every Tuesday in Harrow at 8 p.m.